So I was playing this game recently. I was getting really pissed off. I've been in a bad mood lately playing this game. I've been losing a lot of games, deranking a little bit, and I was wondering, what am I doing wrong? Because a lot of the time you get in these games and they just feel completely unwinnable. You're playing with people who just have no idea what they're doing. They have no idea, never heard teamwork, never heard of her. And it just kind of starts to get to you at some point. It starts to be like, man, like, is this just impossible to climb? Like, is my aim the problem? What is my problem right now, right? Do my skins not have enough drip? Are my friends just really bad at this game and it's their fault? No, the answer is normally that it's your fault in some sort of capacity. Realistically, the answer isn't always that it's your fault. Sometimes it's your teammates' fault who just fucked up, but you have to accept responsibility for it because otherwise you're just never going to improve, right? If I blame my teammates, it doesn't matter. I have no control over my teammates. So it could be their fault, but it is not going to help me get better at the game knowing that. So I thought back to a clip I saw from Tens the other day where he was talking about how, like, if you wanted to climb, realistically, the best way to do that is to play in a stack, which makes sense. If you have a stack of players on your team, it should be easier to climb because you're playing with more competent players. However, you'll notice sometimes that even when you stack, it's still difficult to win. At least for me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe when you guys queue with your homies, you win every single game. But when I queue with my homies, sometimes we would lose and it would be problematic. I've always said the thing I hate most about stacking is that I can't get mad at my friends when we lose, right? Because then you're just a dick. You can't get mad at your friends when you lose. Obviously, it's not like only your friend's fault. Like, everyone plays some sort of role in some capacity in the game. When I queue with randoms, I can get upset with the randoms all I want. In my heart, I know it's not their fault, and I'm not going to yell at them in game. But, like, in my Discord call, I could be like, man, if this Phoenix was just a little bit better, and you could keep living in this false reality where it's like, okay, well, it's the one random's fault. You're queued with 4 people. Of course, it's got to be the one dude on your team who's not queued with you. Apparently it's his fault that you guys lost the game, which literally makes no sense at all. Don't get me wrong, there are rounds that are lost by one player, but I doubt it's that one player's fault exclusively that you lost a game. But anyway, I started stacking, and the whole point of this rant right now is I figured out what I think is like one of the biggest things for climbing in this game, at least in the higher ranks, maybe not in the lower ranks, but at least once you start getting into like diamond area, it just seems to be communication. That just seems to be like the #1 thing. Just playing with your team, solving problems together. I think that's something that's kind of interesting about Valorant, because as much as it's an FPS game and almost even like a strategy game, it's kind of a puzzle game at the same time in many ways. There are things that will work and just will not work based off of what team comp they're running and what players they have in what positions. And I think that's really interesting. Like, if they have a Killjoy ulti on Haven A site and you take A site, that Killjoy ulti is going to force you off site. Meaning that if you don't have the piece of the puzzle to solve that problem, you're probably just going to lose to that Killjoy ultimate, and it's probably just a bad idea to push that site. It's going to force your entire team off site. It's going to be really hard to hold that position. And that has nothing to do with your aim. That's just all, that's part of the puzzle. You got to figure that shit out. Or if they have Breach ulti available, it's probably not a good idea for you to play on site. Hey, I didn't like my second analogy here, so I'm giving a different one instead. So originally I was talking about like Breach ultimate, but instead what I'm saying here is like, it's like if you're playing on Ascent and your piece of the puzzle that wins you the game is having a player in like B main, like having one player there to help you. But instead of putting that one player in B main, you stack all of them in the back of site. That's like the equivalent of trying to force a puzzle piece into a spot that it doesn't fit. And sometimes you might get it in, but that doesn't mean that it's the correct piece, right? Anyway, moving on. If you're talking through these things with your team and actually trying to solve this puzzle, it's actually not that difficult. However, this mostly comes down to people communicating what they see in the game and trying to adjust based off of that. And a lot of the times people just won't communicate that kind of stuff. They won't even say what they're seeing or what they're doing. And I think that's the biggest thing that holds a lot of players back. And I think it's the biggest thing that holds me back too. And I've said this for a while. One of the things that I think I struggle with is that I tilt pretty fucking hard. And I just stop having fun in the game and I stop calming things. And then eventually I end up losing because I'm just not saying anything. But I started playing Sova recently, and Sova seems like a really massive communication character where you kind of have to call out what you're doing, right? Sova's not very good at taking things alone, and this isn't any like mystery to people. When he's droning, he needs to be actively standing still. It's really hard for him to capitalize on his recon darts solo. There's a lot of reasons Sova is not a duelist. So when you're playing him, you have to kind of focus on guiding your team and telling them exactly what you're doing and what the plan is. I think it's cool with characters like Sova where it's definitely a rhythm playing him, where you're calling out, hey, I have recon in 10 seconds. That's when our push is going to happen. Let's wait for that. Hey, I'm droning in right here. Hey, I'm going to ulti this position, so can we capitalize on this? when you're making all sorts of these callouts, it's actually crazy how much your team will benefit from it. This is not a solo game, and if you go off and do your own thing every single round, you're going to struggle in the game, and people just don't realize that, and they'll just try to brute force their way into every single site, and that's just not how the game is played. In matchmaking, you might be able to get away with it every now and then. Like maybe you roll the dice or flip a coin and you win 50% of your games. But realistically speaking, if you want to win more than that, you're going to have to do things that most players don't do. And I'm telling you right now, most players don't say shit. They don't talk. They just don't talk in their games. It pisses me off, man. But I'm no exception to that. Like I said, there's times that I don't talk either. And it's just hard. The game's hard, man. But it's also not at the same time. Anyway, that's my challenge to you. Next time, instead of tilting, try to work with your team and solve the problem. Don't tilt. You're losing matches. It's fine. Why are you losing matches? Figure it out. Work the problem. Dude, that guy's name is Arby's. I went to Arby's for the first time the other day. The line was out the fucking parking lot, dude. It was actually crazy. I was just thinking, like, who the fuck goes to Arby's, man? I was just going there because Chick-fil-A was closed, but I can't assume that everyone else was doing that same thing, right? That being said, their chicken sandwich was pretty good. I will give it that. Yo, I was just thinking about this earlier today. So this is one of my biggest pet peeves. I don't really exactly know how young my demographic is, but if you're watching this video, hopefully I can give you some decent life advice, right? So one of my biggest pet peeves is when people ask me to hang out, rather than asking you to hang out, what they'll say is something like, hey, we should hang out soon. And you might be thinking, King, that's a really weird thing to get upset about. Well, the reason for it is that when somebody asks me like, hey, we should hang out soon, what I'm hearing is that they want me to schedule a date for us to hang out. They're the ones who want to hang out with me, and I'm the one who should schedule that. It doesn't feel like they're giving me a day that we should hang out. Hey, I'm free this day. What are you doing? We should do this. It feels like what they're telling me to do is, hey, you need to text me the next time that you do something. And I don't like that. Like, motherfucker, I'm just as lazy as you. I don't want to be doing all the work here. Don't make me do the work because you're also lazy. You're the one who wants to hang out with me. You scheduled the date. I mean, like, I want to hang out with them too. It's like mutual. Like, it's just, I don't know. They're the ones who suggested it. Like, if they want me, like, send me a text and I'll be there, you know? I feel like a lot of people are that same way. Like, if you give me a time and date, or even if you just text me when you're going out, I'll see if I can make it, right? I understand wanting to schedule things in advance, but like, don't make me be the one doing the scheduling, you know? It seems like something that's really harmless because it honestly doesn't make that big a deal. It just bothers me. So that's my life advice for you. If you ever want to hang out with somebody, ask them to hang out. Don't say, hey, we should hang out soon. Just ask them to. Anyway, that's my life advice. If you guys are watching this video and you wanted to see more content from me, by the way, be sure to check out our Patreon in the description below. We're doing like VOD reviews and stuff there, so we have a couple of those available right now, so you can check this out. Anyway, guys, peace out.